Is this the first time wearing the motor?
No, I did on our first date.
Oh, really? What for?
I asked you if I could and you said yeah.
Oh. I don't remember that. Don't hate me, Elena.
Okay, my very first kind of like hearing about paramotoring was definitely through Mark. We met when I was like 15 or 16 lifeguarding at a pool. And then I just kind of like kept up with him over the years and saw what he was doing like on Instagram, and of course it looks crazy. So then, I don't know, maybe a month later, Mark texts me and he's like, what are you doing this weekend? And I was like, I gotta work, but I'm off tomorrow. He's like, cool, I've got a wing and a harness for you. I was like, awesome. So I met him at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and he brought me coffee, and I did like my very first experience with like kiting. Gusty morning though, so we did it for a little bit, and then at one point my feet got I got lifted off the ground backwards, and at that point Mark was just kind of like, all right, it's a little too windy, like let's stop. So my first kiting experience was kind of short, but it was really fun. I loved it. And then a week later Mark invited me to come to Bad Apples in Georgia. So I went, and most of the weekend I just kind of like watched everybody fly. I didn't do any real kiting myself until the last day we were there. Everybody was packing up and leaving, and it was actually like me, Woody, Mark, Todd, and Ross. And they all went out into this field with me, and Woody brought his seed, and I practiced for like 3 hours, and then after that I was like super hooked. Then I flew into Kansas to meet up with Mark and Woody at Endless Foot Drag. So then that was like my third time kiting. That was when I really started kind of getting the hang of it. Endless Foot Drag was definitely where I got a lot of more like confidence gained. So then we came back, people got married, I was at weddings for a few weeks. Mid to late June, Mark actually made it seem like we were going to go out into a field and practice kiting with his wing. And he had been like joking around with me all week that he had this surprise for me, but he wouldn't tell me what it was. He was like, I hid it in my truck. And I was like, oh, okay. So we're walking out to kite in this field. Mark's like, you didn't even look for your surprise in my truck. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll look later. And he's like, I'm just kidding. Here's your surprise. And he threw this wing down on the ground in front of us. And I was like, what? So that's when I got my Ramaflex, and then I was able to like start practicing on my own, which I found really valuable, because then I wasn't able to rely on Mark to be there to like tell me what I had done wrong. I had to figure it out on my own and adjust, and it also helped me gain a lot of confidence. And then July 15th, Mark made my helmet, and it's so cool. He spent like 3 hours on my helmet, and we did some kiting at Rugby again. And then the very next day I did my first like hang test. So I got in his motor and he kind of hung me from a goalpost at a field right near my apartment, and I practiced with the motor for the first time, so that was super cool. And then a week later we did kind of like practicing on the ground with the motor and the wing. About like 5-10 minutes into it, really just like almost immediately when I started, I couldn't breathe. And Mark's like, what do you mean you can't breathe? And like I was getting claustrophobic, just because first of all, this motor's like half my weight, and then second of all, the harness is a large, so it was sitting really wide on my shoulders, and it was bringing my shoulder blades all the way down my back and pinching right in the middle of my shoulder blades, and I couldn't breathe. So I was getting really frustrated because I'd just be standing there winded, and it ended up that I couldn't even like really do any of the exercises because I couldn't breathe. So then we were kind of like, all right, well, this isn't gonna work. And I was a little upset because I was like, well, what if I don't get to do it now? But ended up Mark rigged it with this like Velcro strap that now he puts on every time before I use it, and he tightened it up. And that made it able to sit higher on my shoulders so that it wasn't restricting me from breathing. Still heavy, but now I can breathe. After that, a week later, on July 29th, I took my very first flight. And it was awesome. The takeoff was awesome. It was really funny because when I did take off, Mark was in my ear and he's like, "How does it feel?" And I just like laughed. I feel like for like the first 5 minutes that I was up there, because it'd been like, I don't know, I guess like 2.5 months that I had been like working towards that, and to be able to actually do it was super awesome.
That's all right. That's what flaring's for. It'll stop you. Kill the engine.
The landing was not awesome. But both my takeoffs that day were really great. And the landings are something that I'm currently working on, and they've gotten a lot better just last night and today. I haven't quite made it to landing on my feet yet, but we're coming in slower and not hurting ourselves anymore. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to get better and better at it so that I don't have to be babied so much by Mark with it. But he's been the best teacher, really patient with my stubborn, but I'm really lucky that he was willing to teach me and really supportive of it and pushed me and got me my wing. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do it at all.
Elena's flying off into the sunset. I'm talking to her right now, so she's laughing at me recording her. You came down really soft.
I know, for 1 second I kind of came up a little bit.
But you did good because you held that flare in. Yeah. You did really good. I had to chase the crap out of you. I know.